Hey everyone, welcome back once again. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a do's and don'ts for how to draw realistic curly hair straight, along with the shading explanation to make your curly hair drawing stand out and pop. I have also done another do's and don'ts video of the hair, which is more general overview of the mistakes that people make while drawing hair. So I'll link that in the card up above so you can check it out in the end of this video. So first I'll do all of the don'ts and then we will cover all of the do's for the curly hair drawing. But now let's get straight on with the don'ts first. The first common mistake that a lot of beginners make when they're drawing curly hair is they draw the outline of the curl without analyzing the constructional guideline. They don't put in any of the individual locks and the main waves, or you can say the clumps of the hair. They just do this outline without any guide of the shape, which makes the hair look very unrealistic. The second common mistake that a lot of beginners make when they're drawing curly hair is they do a really harsh dark outline, so they tend to go in a very dark pencil right at the start of their drawing rather than going with the lighter pencil, so then they can erase any mistake in their drawing in the future. So the third common mistake that a lot of beginners make when they're drawing curly hair is they just draw too dark and don't go over on the sketch within any eraser to lighten the basic sketch, which will leave a very harsh lines in your drawing, because in realistic drawing there is only contrast or highlights. There is no line visible when you attempt realism. The next common mistake that a lot of beginners make when they're drawing curly hair, they shade in back and forth motions and the sleeves here with having really harsh highlight points, which will look so wiry or unnatural. Another common mistake that a lot of people make when they draw curly hair is they fill out everything. They try to draw in shade in all the strands using a really dark pencil along with the really hard pressure on the pencil. So if you are trying to run all the strands, it can look very wiry and unrealistic. The next common mistake that a lot of people make when they're drawing curly hair is they just fill in everything and don't leave any spaces for the highlights, which makes the hair look really cartoonish. Now I'm going to show you how I improve those don'ts and prevent them by these upcoming do's. So the first thing is draw constructional guideline with pencil, and I'm going in with the light kind of pencil first, which is here. I'm using a mechanical pencil and I'm drawing the constructional guideline for drawing hair rather than going all in one go. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is redefining the guidelines. For that, I'm kind of outlining all of the different clumps of the hair and not putting in a very solid outline around all hair clumps. So I just tweak little things just to make sure it is perfect and that I'm happy with it. Always make sure that you are trying to get your sketch as accurate and as kind of perfect as you want it to be, so that when you go and shade it, you don't realize that you want to now change something. So again, I spend quite a lot of time tweaking it and just things to make sure that I've got the shapes and the direction of the curl like I want it to be. After redefining the outlines, now I'm just going to go over with an eraser and kind of lighten that sketch all the way up, because you don't want to see the harsh lines when you are doing realism. So with realism there isn't any harsh outlines, so I like to lighten up the sketch before I go in and do my shading and add further details. Now the next thing is shading in strokes. Always shade here in strokes. Really important point here that I'm not going in with a very light pencil right at the start of the shading. I'm just building up the layers and putting all the darkest areas by pressing really gentle on the surface of the paper to add the shading. So just keep layering and building up those values. So I really like to do everything in layers rather than just trying to do in one layer and get it all done. So I just like to slowly build up the layers, blending between each layers as I go. Now the next most important thing here is the blending, and which is a major important part of the realism. The more you soften the shade with your blending, the more it will look natural and graduated. So I'm blending out all the transition between values, lights, midtones, and darks, as well as softening individual lines is something that, in my opinion, makes a significant difference. So, for this step of the process, I prefer to work with the blending stump. It's a paper blending stump. However, a cotton swab or tissue paper can be used for this blending stump. Now the next thing is texture, which is an exciting part of the drawing, but don't go too crazy because you'll risk overdoing it. But the best way to add texture is by adding a few strands to each segment to emphasize and define the general surface and appearance of the hair, and which will make it more natural. um, but adding too many individual strands may cause it looks like a noodle, so keep an eye on that. The next thing is highlight. So adding highlights is going to make your drawing stand out, even pop a bit more, which will make it look really realistic. So these highlights tends to be towards the middle of each section of the comp. So that's what I'm doing it by just looking at the reference photo. And for that, I'm using the Tombow eraser just to lighten up these sections, but it depends on your reference photo as to where these highlights are, so you can then use a blending stump to soften them out if they are a bit bright. So now just add a bit more value to them, and then you can go and left out some really bright areas to add that sort of variation between your highlighted areas. Now here is the last but not the least thing is, which is contrast. And for the contrast, I'm doing a lot of shadow towards the outside edge, not in the middle of the locks, but on the outside edges. This will create more of that curved three-dimensional look. And I'm just going throughout the whole of this curve and doing the same thing just to make it look a little bit more contrast, to just to make it pop a bit more. I'm now applying a bit more pressure for the areas that I have a bit more shadows, so that I have now a clear view of where the shadows are in the hair and where the highlights are. So that when I go in with the shadowed pencil, I can add more shadow to these areas and darken it up more to make it look more stand out. So this is it for today's video. I really hope that you found it useful and found some tips in there, and that will help you to improve your drawing. So I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye.